Hey everybody, Sid here. So great to be with you. Hey, listen, question for you real quick. What do you do to actually make yourself happy? Or what do you do? Maybe some people would say what do you do to actually feel blessed? You know what I mean? What does that look like for you? So when I was growing up, one of the things for me that defined being blessed, I felt man, my life was working, I was happy, was if I could make teams. So I was trying out for a lot of different teams growing up, but the one thing I loved to do was play baseball, and I desperately wanted to make the baseball teams I was trying out for. And I remember the first year I started trying out for them, things were going really well. I was a pitcher, I loved pitching, the coaches were excited, I was excited. And then I remember partway through tryouts, I hurt my arm. And I remember just realizing, oh shoot, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make this team. And for me, my happiness, my sense of being blessed was all about being on that team. So what did I do? I started making some shifts. First of all, I kind of figured out what position was available that maybe they didn't have really great people in that role. And I thought I can do that. So I started leaning into that position. And then when it came to the tryouts and the practices, I just really upped my attitude. I was the character guy. I was the guy that was cheering, rah, rah. And if I sat on the bench, I made sure that when I was on the bench, I was figuring out how I could contribute to the team in some way and not just sitting there sulking because I just desperately wanted to be on the team. Do you know what I mean? I was almost willing to do anything because for me, if I could get on that team, that was a position of identity. That was a place where I felt like I had some sort of role or responsibility. I was part of that community. For me, it made me feel like I was somebody that was blessed. You know what I mean? So, it's interesting to me when I think about fighting to be blessed, it's not just about teams or communities or those sorts of things. The reality is it's actually about life. What do I need to do to be blessed in life? What do I need to do to be happy? Okay, here's what I want you to do. In your groups, I want you to turn in and just take a couple of minutes, and I want you to answer this question. Think about a time you felt really blessed. What did you do to experience that blessing? Go ahead, turn in, have that conversation. I think so often when people think about being blessed or being happy, they mostly think about what it's like for things to go your way, right? If someone receives something awesome or accomplishes something great, we say they're blessed. And so much of life is trying to attain or achieve a position where things constantly go our way, which is why Matthew 5, 1 to 12 is so weird. I mean, Jesus is talking about what kind of people are blessed by God, but the people who God says are blessed seem to experience the exact opposite of things going their way. I mean, listen to what he says in Matthew 5, 1 to 12. Seeing the crowds, he went up on the mountain, and when he sat down, his disciples came to him. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. And blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others revile you. Hey, did you hear that? Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute you and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Okay, there's three things that stand out to me from this passage, man. Okay, first of all, being blessed isn't something you earn. It's who you are. It's a type of person that Jesus is speaking here. It's maybe another way to say it is it's a way of being. Let me give you an example. Last year, when we were getting ready for camp, a person, Jen, my wife dated in high school, came to camp to help. And when he brought his kids with him, it was pretty funny because my boys noticed right away that his kids were incredibly gifted, were tall and good looking. Immediately, my boys began to complain to their mom. Not, why did you let him come to camp, but rather, Why didn't you marry him, Mom? Why? Because they assumed that if Jen had married him, they would have been born tall and very good looking. And in their minds, they would have been blessed in a way that they could never earn because all they've ever wanted was to be taller in life. Okay, when Jesus talks about people who are blessed, he's talking about a type of people, not something people simply do. These are people who are poor in spirit, who mourn, who are pure in heart, who are peacemakers. These are not simply things you do. These are a type of people who simply are. What's different is that in our culture, we say the people who are blessed are the ones who are rich, good looking, highly skilled, people who can get essentially what they want. But Jesus says people who are blessed in his kingdom are the exact opposite. You don't have to be great to be blessed. Rather, it's the ones who know they are not great. Those are the ones Jesus says are blessed. Okay, here's the point. People, we don't have to be great if we want to be blessed. We have to be humble. And each of us has equal opportunity to experience blessing in God's kingdom. That's the first thing. The second thing that stands out to me is that blessing is not actually about being happy. It's about flourishing. When we think about truly blessed people, we think about people that are able to get what they want. They're the people who have things go their way. They're truly the blessed people. But Jesus actually says something completely different. When Jesus says we are blessed, he's not saying everything is going our way. In fact, by very definition of the kinds of people that Jesus says are blessed, it's often just the opposite of going our way. Blessed are the poor. Blessed are they that mourn. What he is saying is that these types of people are better positioned to experience something even deeper than just temporary happiness. We're positioned to experience flourishing, what it means to be satisfied, to be fully human. And that type of flourishing rarely happens in spaces that are easy. So this summer, I worked at camp with Jen and my son Peyton. Over the last few weeks, I've spoken to Jen and my friends about how much I would love to come back and work at camp next summer. It was such a significant summer for me. The funny thing is, very little about the summer was easy. Like, not a ton about the summer, quote unquote, went my way. In fact, there were plenty of parts of the summer that were really hard, like when staff quit, or when a boat crashed into the dock, or when people revealed problems that were way too big for me to handle. Trying to deal with these things was like not fun. But dealing with these things changed me in a powerful way. These difficult moments put me in a place where I realized I needed something more than what I had to offer. These situations were too big for me, and they forced me to rely on God. And when that happened, I experienced things that were deep and powerful and rich in me and through me. It was like I became alive. It's like I was flourishing. That's what Jesus is talking about here. He's not simply saying if you follow him, you will be happy, things will go your way. In fact, just the opposite. It will at times be like really hard, but this will put you in a position where you will realize your need for God and experience him working in ways you have never experienced before. You will flourish. Even in the midst of the tears, you will be blessed. Okay, the third thing that stands out to me is blessing is not about me. It's actually about we. When Jesus talks about his followers being blessed, he isn't really talking about us as individuals. He's talking about us as a community. We were not created to experience life alone. We were made for community, and it's in community as we work through some really difficult circumstances together that we're blessed, that we experience flourishing. Okay, my friends, that is what we want our community here to be about. Not simply a bunch of individuals, but a group of people who belong to each other, who care for each other, who carry each other, especially when things are difficult. And when we truly live to serve each other, instead of living to get from each other, we discover what it is to flourish, what it is to be blessed. This is what it means to be a follower of Jesus, when we quit living for ourselves and start to live with and for each other. So a number of years ago, I went to Africa with an organization called Compassion. When we were there, we were taken into one of the largest slums in the world called the Mathare Valley. In the middle of the slum was a school run by the organization Compassion. What was shocking when we walked into this little mud school in the middle of extreme poverty was that we discovered a group of people who seemed like truly blessed. They seemed to be flourishing. There was a peace and a joy about them that I had rarely seen before. And they had nothing. I mean, even in their prayers, they kept thanking Jesus that they were simply alive. And yet at the same time, they had everything. They were blessed. This is what Jesus says about the kind of people who follow him. They realize that apart from him, they are nothing and they actually have nothing. And when we come to that place where we realize that apart from Jesus, we actually don't have anything, we become a people who flourish no matter our circumstances, no matter if things are going our way. Because in that moment, we truly begin to experience Jesus. We become a people who are truly blessed.